everyone. Merry Christmas. Welcome to HBRV Lifestyle. We are live. It's going to be a short live today, only about 25 minutes. I'm just going to do some couple questions that came in. Not a lot, just a couple. Seems like most people are enjoying the holidays, which is awesome. But I also want to reflect a little bit on 2024, both the positives and the negatives. But let me get some of the questions real quick. I'm a little disoriented today. Okay. Dear HB, I was actually one of the folks that visited you at your store in Nevada. I was very sad to hear that it closed. I haven't really kept up in the last 2 months. I'm sorry to hear about your situation and your living condition that you're in right now. Can you explain kind of what happened to the store in Nevada? I know you like to kind of try to keep drama to a minimum in that respect, but if you could give us as much information as you're willing to give us, and that way we can get a little bit of a better picture of what we're looking for. Okay. Um, so the store in Nevada. So I'm not going to use any names or anything like that. The store in Nevada was struggling to get people to drive out from the Vegas market, the California market, or any other market. We did really well as far as selling units. Now, the guy who bought the place, the company that bought the place, bought a lot of 2022 inventory that was a year plus old. In some cases, it was almost 2 years old, and bought it at full price. And when I took the job, I originally was under the impression that it was bought for around 80%. And the stuff was falling apart. I mean, a lot of you that came out and bought a unit from me know that I was selling them as is, heavily discounted, not fixing anything cosmetic, things of that nature. And they were pretty messed up, okay? Cabinets broken, paint chipped on the full body paint, window tint peeling. It was kind of sad, okay? But we got rid of it. And then we started getting rid of other aged inventory that was on other of the 6 or 7 dealers' lots. But then I'm going to say that a lot of the Vegas dealers started to catch up to what I was doing because they were losing business. In a 4-month period, I sold 144 units. A lot of it came out of either California or Vegas. There were some of you that came from Idaho and Montana and places like that. But for the most part, it was a lot of California and Vegas. Okay. Right after January of this year, it died. Because the Vegas dealers caught up and started doing the kind of same things I was doing. California dealers finally kind of woke up and decided that the party's over. And I think people were sick and tired of losing deals to me. Because you started seeing people in Southern California significantly drop their profit margin, something I talked about all year long. Okay. So it got to a point where it's so slow that instead of selling on average, let's say 15 or 16 units a month, we were selling 4 or 5. And Pahrump, Nevada is a really cool place to live. It is very quiet, very spacious, a lot of great people, a lot of retirees that don't make a lot of money. And they move to a place like Pahrump because it's cheap to live. and they can still live a really good life and really live pretty decently on a smaller income. So you have a really big divide. Good morning, Mike. You have a really big divide between the rich and the poor in Pahrump, Nevada. And a lot of the highly rich people in that area don't RV very much. Or if they do, they buy very high-end, expensive diesels. And the folks, and it just was so, the economy, everything just kind of, it was like a perfect storm. So in June of this year, the owner came in, kind of had a discussion with my finance guy and I about closing the store down, not closing the store down, things of that nature. I stepped away. I was talking to a customer. The owner asked my finance manager if he could take over the dealership and get rid of me. And that wasn't anything personal against me. It was a culmination of frustrations that the owner was going through with his other dealers, losing money every month, writing a check every month to cover expenses. It was a culmination of frustration, right? And it didn't go the way he thought it would go. He didn't go the way I thought it would go. Okay. So I kind of let that go. I know he was frustrated. Then I asked him, because we were talking about closing down the store possibly, and what would happen if we closed down the store. And he said some things to me. I don't think he realized he said them out loud, but he said some things that were very, like, you just don't say to somebody when things are bad. Again, out of frustration. I didn't take it personally. It's just frustration, right? On his end. Later that day, I was in the truck with my finance guy. We were heading down to Vegas to go help a customer with a hot water heater issue, which ended up just user error. And what ends up happening is the owner had another employee call my finance guy. I was in the car, and I could overhear everything in the background that was being translated to my finance guy. And it basically was, I really want to get rid of this guy. Please tell me you can take care over the dealership. Like, he really wanted to get rid of me. At that point, I knew that my time was up with the company. I don't know if I'll ever go back and work there ever again. Probably not, because he doesn't like me. And again, it's out of frustration. It's out of a lot of different things. So it's not something, I don't think, is a personal attack against me. I think it was a lot of frustration. And so I left. I tried to give him 2 weeks notice. Unfortunately, I think he was so mad at me. He didn't want to talk to me over the phone, didn't want to return a phone call, didn't want to return a text. So I quit by email, because I could not, every time I tried to talk to him, he didn't want to talk to me. And I get it. Trust me. I completely understand. I don't take it personally. He's in a really tough spot, really difficult spot. What I'm going through living in a car is not even close to what that man's going through. He feels very responsible for employees. He feels very responsible for people. He feels like he's got to keep the dealerships going, because he was offered to get bought out a long time ago. He felt that it was better overall for him to keep chugging along and struggling, because he feels that he's responsible for a lot of people. And he takes that responsibility very seriously. So I left. It was closing down anyway. I got a job that ended up temporary, unfortunately. And you guys know the rest. So that's kind of how that went. There's a lot of positives that I don't think anybody realizes. Like, and if I ever talk to him again, I don't know if I ever will, but if I ever talk to him again, I would thank him for saying those things, because he said some real nasty, mean things about me while I was, and I don't think he knew I was listening, but he said some real mean, nasty things about me to other people. And if I ever talk to him again, I would tell him thank you, because it motivated me to realize that if I'm going to make it in life, like make it big in life, I have to find multiple streams of income. I have to find multiple vehicles that bring in multiple different streams of income every single month. Because if I depend on an employer to give me all the income I need to survive, then I'm a slave to the job, I'm a slave to life, and I'm no longer the captain of my own vessel. So, that's kind of what occurred with that. Okay. So I hope that kind of helped out a little bit. You understand the situation. All right. There was one other question, and I'm going to get into some things about 2024 and kind of some reflections, because Christmas is coming. And then a couple quick announcements. Dear Honey Badger, we are going through a tough time ourselves. We're looking to sell our 2008 Class C motorhome. We bought it when it was a rental. So we bought it used back in 2010. It was a rental. It has 90,000 miles on it now. We used the holy crap out of it. Got great memories, great life out of it. I need to try to get at least $30,000, because we are about 30 grand behind on all of our bills. And my husband has been laid off for about 6 months. And as you know, unemployment doesn't really cover anything. Do you have any advice on what we could do with the motorhome to possibly either get 30 grand for it, because we haven't been able to do that, or B, generate some kind of income to help us at least get going, because my husband will be back to work after the first of the year, but I know it's weighing on him how he's going to catch up on the bills. Okay. So what I would do is, while your motorhome is up for sale, no, Mike, you are absolutely right. And that's when I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. What I would do if I were your shoes, list your motorhome for like 32, 33,000. So you have some negotiating room, and then throw your motorhome, because it's slow right now. It's Christmas, it's New Year's. Usually the industry will pick back up around end of January. It starts moving again. What I would do at that point is I would start putting it on these RV share websites, these RV Airbnb websites, clean it up, make it look and smell good. And I would start using it as a rental to bring in some extra income until you're able to get it sold. Okay. There are a lot of people, there are rental companies out there looking for consignments because they are so overbooked for 2025. See, this is what people are not realizing. This is something I've been talking about. The rental industry is booming. If you think people are not going to go camp in 2025, that you'll find open spots everywhere, you're mistaken. It's going to be, parks are going to be jam-packed with rentals next year. Is it going to be every single weekend? No. But is it going to be a lot of major holidays, a lot of major major concerts. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. So I would definitely throw it on some kind of RV share or RV rental or RV consignment rental place and just let it generate some income for you while you're not using it. I mean, option B, I didn't see anything in there about kids. Option B, do what I did, but at least you have a motorhome. Let everything go, start all over, stay in the motorhome for a while until you catch up. Motorhome is cheap to live in. You know, you own it free and clear, obviously. There's another option you guys should look at, even if it's small, even if it has no slides. If it's just you and your husband, you know, let it all go for right now. And now your husband's going back to work. It'll lower his stress. Maybe you could stay closer if he commutes. Maybe you guys can stay somewhere closer to his work for cheaper. You know, there's a lot of options there. I think it's just a discussion of how far do you want to go. I mean, obviously I don't go as far as I did, but you can always go as far as you want. Okay. So those were the only two questions. I don't blame everybody because it is the holidays. So I want to reflect on 2024. First off, I was really mad about 4 months ago because you guys have been so kind in your words to me. I've gotten a lot of support. A lot of you have told me that you don't understand why I haven't blown up on YouTube yet. And I was just getting so frustrated because the YouTube algorithm, it seems like it punishes guys like me. And, I just witnessed a guy with 1,100 subscribers and not even close to the same knowledge I do, not even close to anything I do. He got a $10,000 sponsorship from an RV parts company. And I'm sitting here with 14,000 subscribers and I'm like, I don't get any of that. So it was frustrating. And then something happened last night that was very interesting. So last night I was driving Uber and I picked this guy up at San Jose Airport. And I was driving to his house and him and I were just chatting it up. The dude is worth a couple $1 billion and he's taking an Uber X. Okay. And we're just chatting it up. And he goes, "What's the name of your podcast?" And I tell him, and I didn't know he was worth $1 billion until later, because later on in the conversation, we pull up to this this housing area, and it has gates like Jurassic Park. It just you feel like when you walk in, you're hearing John Williams and Malcolm and all those guys saying, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." I mean, that's how it feels when those gates open. I'm like, holy crap. And then he goes, "Oh yeah, I own a tech company." I'm like, and he goes, "I'm thinking about selling it, but that's why I was gone." And we start talking, and it's only 10 minutes to his house because it's way up in the hillside behind these gates. And it was just a great conversation. And he said, because I told him, he asked me what my biggest frustrations were with, algorithms and stuff. And I go, what's frustrating is TikTok has always been known to be that short form video platform, people dancing, cats, dogs. And I said, in February I started just, okay, screw it. TikTok wants long form videos. I'll just upload what I upload to YouTube to TikTok right after I upload to YouTube. And I said, what's frustrating? I don't even put any effort into marketing it. No effort on spreading on social media. And from March until December, I went from 3,000 followers on TikTok to 56,000. And I went from getting 60,000, 70,000 views a month on TikTok to over 1 million a month. But then I go on YouTube and it's the same content and it doesn't blow up like that. And he said something very interesting. He said TikTok, he said if your podcast and your YouTube channel have grown as much as it's grown in 3 years, he goes, go to your analytics page. He says, go see how many long form videos that you got views on in 2023 and how many you got in 2024. And he says, if you doubled that, he said, you did better than 98% of total YouTubers across the platform. He says, you'll probably have done better than Mr. Beast. You've probably done, because I could tell he's worked for YouTube or does something for Google. His company does. And I go, okay. So last night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I go in to my analytics, and there it is. I didn't double it. I tripled it. I went from 250,000 views in 2023 on long form video. This is not the podcast. This is just this main channel, to 780,000 this year. And I was like, I am growing. The audience is growing. It's just like some of you have said, sometimes I say things that you can't stand, you unsubscribe, you go away. Then you come back because, okay, I got to see what he's saying now. And then I say something that obviously makes sense and kind of gives you an insight that no one else is giving you, and you come back. And I'm like, okay. And I just thought, you know what? It'll grow next year. So 2025 is going to be year of the honey badger. I'm going to make the announcement on Monday, but I am not doing a podcast episode on Christmas Day. And I'm not doing a podcast episode on Christmas Eve Day, New Year's Eve Day, New Year's Day and Christmas Day. There will be no podcast episode. I've decided to take those 2 days and kind of reflect on life. I'm trying to look at all the positives of 2024, and there are a lot of them. But also, it was a very tough year. It was a very rough year. But I'm ending on a high note, and I couldn't have asked for being homeless and practically living out of a car. I couldn't have asked for a better situation to come along. And I couldn't have asked for a better ending to 2024. And I just hope everybody has a very blessed Christmas. And I know the economy is not going to be good in 2025, but that doesn't mean that there won't be good things. That won't mean that there isn't opportunities. That won't mean that it'll be every industry in the world. I mean, Big Lots shut down, Party City shutting down. We've lost a lot of companies in 2024 that were blue bloods to a lot of us middle class and lower middle class citizens. So yeah, I mean, it's not just relationships, it's life in general is too short. You gotta start thinking about, like, if I was offered, the last thing I'm gonna say is, I was offered 3 jobs 2 months ago, if you guys remember, and it bugged the crap out of me that I didn't jump on one of them. But I didn't, because I was like, I'm gonna promise myself, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna tell them yes, But I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to take a week. I'm going to let it soak in. I'm going to do the math. I'm going to think about what it means, what the opportunities are, things of that nature. And if I jumped at the first job that was offered, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, which is a good opportunity. So, Merry Christmas to everybody. And we'll see you on Monday on the podcast and Tuesday on the podcast if you guys are there. And if you're not, Merry Christmas. Have a great, safe weekend. Happy holidays. And we'll see you guys soon. Toolkit and sense of humor, folks.